So thank you. We are here. We are very honored to be at the Maker Faire today. We started the program yesterday. Very exciting program with our conversation with Christian Paul from the Whitney Museum and myself talking at the U.S. Embassy in the Transatlantic Thursdays as beginning of the Maker Faire. And then we had another member of our Hyphen Hub community as a keynote speaker, Anouk Wiprecht, who works in fashion tech. Anouk is also going to join us today in 2 hours for where we are going to talk about some other elements, areas of fashion technology, and with a special emphasis in prosthetics. So I hope that you all stick around with us because we have a lot of programs. We have after Juan Cortés, which we have here with us today from Bogota. And then after Juan, we have Claudia Hart from New York. So we have Juan, Claudia, then Anouk. And so Juan, you are, how do we start with you? You are an independent artist that has, you have your own separate practice, but you are also part of the group Attractor Studio.
Yeah.
And you both collaborate with a lot of projects that is together that are very complex, work with a DIY maker, you develop all these materials that you build, many other ones that you find and refurbish, hack new things, develop softwares, working with AI. Now, you guys are multidisciplinaries, and it's why don't you tell us about the project that that you want to showcase today, which is called The River?
Yeah, it's called El Río, the river in English.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, this is a new project of Attractor Studio, which I'm probably part of, and I'm representing them right now. And we were just thinking on a very important and interesting subject here in Colombia, and is that several rivers were declared subjects of rights or were actually included in Colombian law as part of the legislation, which allows them to have rights, as a person has rights. And then we started with Attractor, like questioning ourselves, what does that mean, and how could that actually help or enhance the situation of Colombian rivers? Because you know that we have been having this long and very strong conflict here in Colombia, and then the rivers and most parts of what we call nature are actually embedded in our conflicts, but they are never like part of what you see in the news and what you see in the legislations, like being taken care of, right? I mean, they are known as victims, but nobody does quite anything. And that idea of the rivers as subjects of law was very interesting for us, and we wanted to create a project around the idea of a river and around the idea of a river looking at itself from a non-anthropic perspective. So we started working in 360 video, which was actually part of like a more ambitious video game project, because that's something that for me and for Attractor has been very interesting in the last 3 or 4 years. No, three years. Yeah.
Yeah, so since I know you created this video game, The Birds, which is the
The
migrant,
migrant.
which
Yes.
we're going to show in a little bit, which is
Yeah.
very connected to the river, to a Rio.
Yeah.
And now we were in London. When was that? 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
It was in 2018.
Yeah,
You were with me in the CERN tour. We were doing Broken Symmetries at Liverpool, and we
yes,
spent like 1 week in London. Yeah.
yes, because Juan and his team Attractor, they were selected by Arts at CERN,
Yeah.
which is a very prestigious, not only the best scientific institution in the world, but it's also they created Monica Bello and her team created a wonderful program, which is artists working with scientists.
Yeah.
And it's and you'll tell us a little bit later about the arts of CERN. Actually, maybe on Sunday.
Sunday.
Next Sunday we're going to talk about Sopralunar, which is
With
a
a tractor.
specific project that we did for CERN.
Yeah.
But then we opened the piece at FACT, Foundation for Art and Creative Technology in Liverpool, and then we went with Barbara London, like Director of Media, MoMA, and we went to the Victoria Albert Museum to see the video exhibition.
Yeah.
So was that your inspiration to create video games as a?
Yeah. Well, you know that I remember that we saw this giant museum, like a very classic museum there at
Yeah.
London, and I figured out, okay, so we're gonna see like I don't know antique sculptures or something like that, you know, and I was ready to see that, and I actually was very excited about seeing that, like I don't know, like going to the Louvre Museum or something like that. But as soon as we entered the museum, I remember that the guy at the entrance told us, okay, the big exhibition here is an exhibition about video games and about video games history. Remember?
Yeah.
And then I told you like, please, can we go to that exhibition? This is very exciting for me. And actually, I was very excited to show Barbara London the exhibition because I was like a huge fan of video games, and I knew I could tell her like some I don't know insights around video games.
Exactly.
Uh,
We are old people, Barbara and I. We don't really understand all that young culture, so we look at it from the artistic point of view. But
yeah,
you guys have a very different angle where you are.
yeah, I was very excited. I just wanted to play. Um, so we entered there, and and then we found like this giant exhibition that had like the political side of video games, you know, like the social part of video games, like the gender, I don't know, activism part of video games, and it was just such a revelation for me because I just thought in that moment, okay, this is a very exciting medium. I have been playing video games my whole life, and I know my friends of Attractor have done the same. And I just wanted to create something or to do something related to video games. And then I went back to Colombia, and I remember it was like that was in probably December, and I been with my friends back in January after like vacations, and I told them, okay, we need to create a video game. And we already were thinking about this idea of working around the problem of migrants and of migrant birds, because
Yeah.
we were working with a biologist called Sofia Rojas and a philosopher called Santiago Arcila, trying to think around the idea of the point of view of different species, non-human, and trying to create with technology create like a bridge to those other ways of feeling, of seeing the world, and of perceiving things. And what better than a video game to try to do that? So if you want, I can start like while I talk.
Yes. Why don't
Show a
you
little
show
bit about
us? Where do you want to start? With the river or with the birds?
probably with the birds,
Okay.
um, because that's
Bird is
a
a very beautiful piece. Yes. So
yeah. Um, I just want to create a huge,
briefly.
a little highlight here, and it's that the BERT project was actually part of an educational program here in Colombia with kids from Bogota's district, actually from very like difficult areas of the city. It was like a social project of the district where we asked the kids like, okay, let's think around prosthetics to try to connect ourselves to this bird, to this migrant bird, to try to, with technology, create like an experience of the way that they perceive the world. So it started like that, which was a very beautiful thing for us because the kids were very excited around creating like prosthetics, and then they work with 3D printing and Arduino and such platforms to create things like, let me show you, like this. So they created like these feathers with like all the technological parts. And then we started talking with them actually around how this could be like the controller for the game that we actually were doing with a tractor. So those two projects, the educational project and the video game, were like intertwined on that stage. And let me show you like the first version of the of the project. So this project about the migrants started with this beautiful history that I saw in a book uh, about these Gordon Revolvers is the name of the bird, and they were traveling from Canada on their usual migration to the coast of Florida. But then when they reached Florida, they found a lot of storms because of global warming mainly. This was around the year 2014, and they decided the birds to travel and to do like the migration process to Colombia to escape from the storms that were around this part of the US. And the first thing that I found interesting about this is that this specific path is a very important path for the human migration here in Central America and in Latin America. So this is the actual frontier of USA and Mexico, and these are all the Central America countries. And you know that for us in Latin America, in Central America, there's a huge political issue here with the migration. So I thought, okay, interesting. So the bears escaped from this giant problem, and then they took this path. And then we started thinking, okay, let's create a video game called The Migrants around this idea of migration and this idea of the difficulty and also the importance of migration in animals. And the original idea of this project is that you were like one bird of the whole flock of birds, and you had to actually guide your flock into like a safe route to be able to migrate and to escape from the storms. And you actually like have like the powers of the bird. Powers, I mean like the senses of the bird to actually perceive in infrared vision and to be able to feel the electromagnetic fields of the earth, so you can actually know where to go and so on. And then you had to like go along or to pass like these anthropic frontiers like the wall, and we actually model this, which is the passing, the crossing between Mexico and the US. And you actually go around places like with seats, because that's what actually birds do in the migrations, is that they share seats with one place to another, and that process connects territory. They connect the forest from one place to another, which is a very important like biological thing. So this was like the first version of the migrants. But then we did another one, which I can put if you want while we speak, which was like the second version, which was a performance version of the piece.
Yeah.
So if you want, let's continue.
Now yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Now the audience, you guys could ask questions if there is a chat. The
Of
chat
course.
doesn't get anywhere, but if there is a chat that we could see, you could present questions. Anche puoi presentare domande anche se in italiano, e così io posso tradurre lui. Okay,
Sure.
so tell us about this. What?
Okay, so later we started thinking of, okay, so this is cool as a video game, but it could also be a performance piece. And then we created like this sound experience, which is something that you will hear on Sunday, because we are going to share around about attractor sound pieces. And we did this actual version of the project for live performance. So what happens in that performance is that one of us controls actually the bird, which is the bird view, which is what you're seeing, and then we live try to actually take the bird from one part of the other, like we go from one part of the migration process, and then we sonically recreate how the bird perceived that area. And of course, there are like anthropic and like human apparatus, like these antennas. So it's like trying to have a sense of how, for example, birds actually perceive like the antennas, how they perceive those strange bodies, how they perceive the walls, how they perceive like the electromagnetic radiation of the world. and how is the process actually of going from one place to another, actually sorting all these difficulties that they found in their way. So this is like a more first person, I know first animal person, I don't know like the expression, uh, version of the project, which we did like last year, and we presented this in Medellin in a very interesting festival that the Parque Explorer creates here in Colombia.
That's great. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
So is there a way to actually interact with it? So what is the idea for the next things to
Yeah.
interact with it?
So this project is actually gonna be actually released for the public, because until now we have been showing it and showcasing it in very specific situations, but the actual opening of this project, or the first time that audience is gonna be able to interact and to enter the world of the migrants, is gonna be in Basel in the festival Culturescapes, which is around like the second semester of 2021 in Switzerland. But of course, the video game is gonna come live and it's gonna come online in that moment, and I'll definitely share the link with you for us to post it through a hyphen hub webpage.
That's and this is actually aimed to see with the also with the video camera with the goggles.
Oh yeah. We're gonna do like a video game version, which will be played in the with the goggles, of course.
So with the goggles, it's gonna be absolutely beautiful. And this pretty much this is so sorry. These are the eyes of the animal.
Yeah, yeah. This was such an interesting work for us. I mean, it's not like a success for us, because it's quite impossible, to think that you are actually seeing trailers of any other creature or live creature. But we were trying to or we were researching around the colors that the birds perceive, around the distortions of the eye that the bird actually has, and we tried to model that in a software called Unity, and this was like our best effort trying to perceive that, which is something that is actually for me like a very interesting I don't know project to do. And I don't know if you remember, but I was in France in 2017 on an exhibition that this was like an exchange between the France government and the Colombian government. And I was there in Center 104 in Paris, and I went to this thing that actually also changed my mind. And it was like a work of art by a laboratory called Be Another Lab. Be Another Lab. And this is actually like some sort of a performance. And then you enter to a room, and they put you like the VR headset, right? And then in front of you, there's another person with the same headset looking straight towards you, right? Then what happens is that you start looking at the way he perceives. I mean, you start looking through his eyes, so you see his hands or her hands, and there's like one person who is guiding the whole experience, and she said like, okay, raise your left hand, and then you start perceiving like his hand or her hand through your eyes because of the VR headset. And this was wonderful, because actually it was an work of art, but also like an experiment that they did, and they were doing like this trauma like process with VR in difficult places, trying to, I don't know, put like a victim in front of their victimary. I don't know the exact word. And they were doing these sort of experiments, which for me were very interesting. And I just thought, okay, so maybe like this VR and ER and all those things that are and with R could be actually a way to try to create experiences to connect with others, like birds, or in the case of the project that we're going to showcase now, rivers, which was actually a very interesting thing to try to think as a project.
Okay. Now, what is the connection of this with the river? the other one?
Well, actually, the Magdalena River, which is the main river where that we focus on our practice, is like one of the most important biological paths here in Colombia, right? And it's like the river where most of the migrant birds go through, like follow in their migration routes. So you can actually think of rivers as some sort of highways, for migratory birds. And their dynamics of living and biological dynamics are intertwined always. So it's like this beautiful idea that actually as birds carry seeds, as they carry like life, like biological material and so on, the lives of the rivers and the life of birds are profoundly intertwined. So you cannot think of like a bird migrating without the idea of a river as their source of path. And in the last part of the migrant history of 2014, there was this path that that they followed to go to Ptolemaida, which is the place where they were found, and it was through Magdalena River. So we actually thought, okay, let's start by this final place where they were so tired, after going from a lot of countries in their very difficult migration history from 2014, and let's focus on that moment where they actually saw the river and they saw life through the river and they saw like the opportunity of following the river in order to get somewhere. So this was like the moment or the actual the moment where we want to start the project of the river, and it's with the final part of the history of birds when they get and when they saw the Magdalena River.
So, okay, so could you show us, can we go back, can we go into the river part now?
Sure. Let me change my resolution here a little bit so it will look better. Okay. Yeah, so do you want to say something about this or shall I start talking?
No, okay, you let's start with it.
Yeah,
Well,
so
I know the Magdalena River is a very important river, and it's I see it as is the where many of the birds of the greatest biodiversity in Colombia are, which is
yeah,
life. But it's also a river that is unfortunately Colombia had with the recent past of violence, kidnappings, guerrillas that are coming down. They are not to an end yet, but they have really drastically come down. And so Colombia is now for the first time it's a safe tourist to be safe place to visit. You have to be careful where you go still, but there are some areas that are not advisable to go, but there are so many other ones that are open and is packed with international tourists. But the Magdalena River has tradition of violence where along some of the villages. And so you could tell us a little bit about this kind of utopia, dystopian images of this work, and why the mirror in the river as well.
yeah. So like the Magdalena River is like the main artery of Colombia. You can think like that. So it has been like a very important part of like our history as a country. Actually, in the text of this work of art, we actually said like the flow of the Magdalena River is the same flow of the Colombian history. And yes, it has been like this profound source of life for Colombia and of biodiversity in all sense. And actually, most of the culture in Colombia, of like there's music that born in around the Magdalena River. There's like a huge economy around the Magdalena River, but sadly, there has also been this huge conflict around the Magdalena River, and it has its history so disturbing, such as one thing that happened like in the 80s, and is that there were so massacres around the Magdalena River and so many people throwing like the dead bodies into the Magdalena River that for a huge period of time, they actually, I mean, there were so much bodies decomposing on the Magdalena River that the actual composition and the pH, the acidification of the water changed because of the dead bodies. So the actual way the water was composed chemically changed because of the violence in Colombia. So like the way like history has like I don't know, changed the way the Magdalena River behaves around our human conflicts and so on is very interesting, and it's something that definitely art could point a finger at too, right? Like, okay, what's happening here with this body of water that's so important for us, but is in so much danger, right? And of
Can
course,
we make a pause at the moment and just like I would like to can you put the sound up of this
sure.
the
So
sound
then,
is so beautiful.
so of course, I'm gonna share my screen again. So
Yeah.
give me a second with sound for you all to see
The
like the
sound
sound.
is all binaural, multi-channel.
Yeah, this was composed by Alejandro Villegas, who is for me like the greatest composer of sound. Okay, I think we can continue talking, and I'm gonna leave the video running.
Yes. But this video work is something that you guys need to wear very good headphones because
Of
the
course.
sound is a masterpiece. It's ambisonic and it really transports you inside these environments. That for many of you who are not in these lands, the view who are in Europe, this is actually a magical land, and the sounds, the river, the nature is extremely powerful and very very poetic. So I would love that you guys are able one day to explore and that we could travel again. And it's, so tell us about so what is the now with you guys work as a group
Yeah.
with a tractor. So who is in charge here of to do what sections?
Um, this is quite hard, I mean, our processes are really, really, really interconnected right now. I mean, this is gonna be our fifth year or our yeah, our fifth year working together. The next year, and we started with like dividing ourselves. Of course, like Alejandro is the one who does most of the audio, and then we together always come with the main idea of the piece, and then we together always do the text, I am mostly in charge of like the visual part, and I, for example, for this project, it came everything, and this is so crazy, and I don't like to talk about my personal life, but it came in a dream, like the idea of the mirror, or as the river, with a mirror looking at itself and looking at its stages, and looking at the past and the future and the flows that it has had. Uh, but but something that happens when you work for so long time with people, and when you form like a love that's so strong and a relationship that's so strong, is that you start developing like a very, I don't know, like easy way to think around the projects, and to actually develop, and to it's like it flows. It actually the projects start flowing, and you know how he thinks. You know how we actually, I don't know, think around one project that is quite hard to actually say which is the part where one begin and the other then continues, and which was I don't know whose idea, but in the group, like to say something like I don't know. Juan Jose is the one who creates all the machinery and who thinks around hardware and also electronics. Alejandro is the one who does sound and also electronics and some coding, or no, a lot of coding actually. I am the one who creates like the visual part of the work, and some coding actually, and some sound once in a while. And Blondie is the one who helps us to think around the concept of the ideas, and he actually always thinks around the performatic part and the bodily experience of the projects,
Yeah.
and that's how we work together.
Yes. What are we seeing here? Is the mirror? What
Yeah,
spectral cortex? What's happening?
yeah. So, like that I'm gonna pause here to tell the history, because these recent years, because of global warming and these new dynamics of like the way like the climate is changing, has been drying some parts of the Magdalena River, and it's very very disturbing for us, because you can see pictures on the press, and it's like the Magdalena River like this, like you can see like actually the scars of the river, because it's completely dry, and we of course here in Colombia are in like between two moments. One moment that is of profound, like of inundations. How do you say, like when flooding,
Floods? Yeah,
of,
floods.
of floods, and moments of profound dryness of the river. So we move between those moments, and that's a consequence for those of us who are living climate change, of climate change. So we were trying to develop like a narrative path through these stages of the river, and this is like a mirror of the river that reflects another moment where it had water, where it had where it was life, because it's like as I told you, it's like mirrors of the river seeing at its story, at its current, at its flows, and this is a very for us like a very beautiful poetic image, and it's the birds trying to find like this remembrance of the moment where the river had water and where the river was actually in good conditions, because now in this moment this is actually something based on something that happened like a year ago, and is that no one could have found water. All the fish were dying in the river, all the birds were dying because they couldn't find the path to a river, and it's like a poetic metaphor to those moments of what's going to happen on the river because of climate change.
But when you talk about climate change, is what exactly is happening again? Sorry if I missed the point.
No, the thing is that that what does climate change for us, because we don't have stations here in Colombia, and the way we perceive climate is different from I don't know, people in the US or in Europe and so on. But what happened here is that we have like these phenomena called El Niño y La Niña,
Yeah,
which
big storms.
means
Yeah,
dry seasons, like very long dry seasons, or very long flood seasons. And in these very long dry seasons, what happened with the Magdalena River is that it dries, it dies completely. I mean, you can see parts of the river that doesn't have any water and are completely dead. And all the fishes there, all the vegetation, all the life in the Magdalena River gets completely dried. And this is not like something that I'm imagining, and this is not a future. This happened 2 years ago here in Colombia, and we spent like 4 months or 3 months where the Magdalena River was in, I don't know, is 40% of the Magdalena River was completely dry. Is that level of
Yeah.
yeah of catastrophe.
Yeah.
Um,
Can
and
we go down in the image? Can you
yeah,
show
of
us
course,
the work?
like that.
So where does the river end? But the river begins where? In the northern coast?
Let's see. So
So
here
that
we
is
are.
Colombia,
Yeah, that's Colombia.
the capital
And
of America.
yeah, it starts in Barranquilla, and then it actually is that you can see the importance here of this river because it actually connects every part of Colombia. So this is the Colombian map, and you can see it's a main artery because it actually goes in the center of Colombia, and it has to do with every part of the country, and
Okay.
that's why it's so important because in Barranquilla, which is the top here, it was like this port, this very important like commercial port, and the Magdalena River was the actual entrance to Colombia. So every part of the commerce, every part of the cultural activity, everything that came to Colombia from the US, from Europe,
Yeah.
and so on, came through Magdalena River as a port. And that's why it is so important. And then it joins here like the rivers of the south part of the country. And yeah.
So are there any so like what are the lessons that like what do you think as an artist, what kind of duty, responsibility what can you do to help create awareness to this problem?
Um. Okay. So this is my personal position, because I don't even want to talk on behalf of a tractor in this sense, but I think like technology plays such an important role on everyone's life right now, right? I mean, what this event, the actual maker fair, it's so important what the maker community and what the technological community in the world is doing right now, that we actually as artists must think what's our part in this discussion, which is the way technology is playing a part of everyone's life. And you know that I actually think that technology in its greater sense is controlled by so many or so little, so few individuals of these huge enterprises, and they all have like these goals and these views, mainly of these market views on the way technology should be a part of our society. And that's a view of life, and that's an ideology of technology, and it's an ideology of how technology should control everyone's life and should actually gather information from people for them to be able to sell the information to others, and so on and so on and so on. And I think every one of us is in a way or another is falling into a trap, because I see it as a trap. And what happens, which is very sad for me and for some artists that actually share this view, is that the technology is actually losing its power and its possibilities in very interesting senses, like for example, or in very interesting ways. And one of us could be like how technology could help us actually connect with others and try to understand a little bit more about the life of others, so we as selfish humans could actually be able to understand and to perceive and to try to think of solutions in ways to actually cohabit or yeah, understand like the place, the importance, and yeah, and to try to think another ways to connect to these other species, or to try to share the world, and not destroy the world of others. So if technology And if these technologies and if we as artists could actually create something and put things in the world without this commercial aspect mainly. I mean, it could be commercialized, of course, why not, but not from the beginning, and we're not doing this thing because we want to sell it for X or Y people or so on. We want to create these things so people could have experiences and they could reflect around their own possible ways to connect with others and to try to think as technology as a bridge to connect with others. And if in a way we can do something like that with this, that's my goal, and that could be it. Of course, that could be also shared with educational programs. Education for us is like a huge part of what we do. We do workshops and we work with the government and we work with institutions and so on and so on. But yeah, that's my perspective and maybe on that.
Yes, a lot of what you work is that, you individually, but also a tractor is very connected to the to the entire humanity. From the connection not only with humans but also the nature as an entity, separate entity, and with its own rights, from the river to the trees to the birds.
Yeah.
That's something that's very poetic, very beautiful. And we are very getting close to finish, but we will. I just want to know if there are any questions from the audience. I don't see many.
There,
Se c'è
there,
qualche domanda in italiano, anche la puoi mettere. Um, is there any? Let me see. Is there? The prosthetics that you did, that you showed us for a second at the beginning,
yeah.
which we presented at MoMA in the Department of Design, those were prosthetics for these birds, for the bird game?
No, is that, yeah, that's a beautiful thing to remember, right? Because in 2015, I guess, I was actually with you again in New York, and 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 we met from Jess Van Nostrom from MoMA, and she commissioned like these prosthetics and this huge educational program around the idea of prosthetics and the idea of prosthetics to connect with animals, right? Or to think around animals with prosthetics. And then we created with a new cross here in Colombia, which is an amazing fashion designer group or a fashion designer. We created these prosthetics based on other animals, like a shark, I remember, and a snake.
You don't happen to have handy an image of that?
Oh, of course, yeah. I must have here. Let me just check very quickly. But yeah, but that was like for me the first process.
Somebody wants to go to your website, see your projects. This is your website.
It's juancortes.net.
Juancortes.net.
Juancortes.net. That's it. Juan Cortés, Cortés.net. And this is the prosthetic we created. Remember?
Yeah.
We actually did this in your house.
It is in my house, yes. So could you remind me of what to do with that glove, because I forgot what to do with it.
Oh yeah, is that actually the glove has a coil. It's like it's a glove based on the based on a shark. It has like a reminiscent of the aleta. How do you say aleta?
But I forgot. To get from the shark, yes.
Yeah, like this of the shark. And then this glove had like a coil in the center, and then it had like some circuitry that actually amplifies and filters some electromagnetic signals from the glove into like a sound amplifier. So you actually could, with this glove, you can go and perceive or you can hear the actual magnetic fields of instruments, of I don't know, antennas, of computers, and so on and so on. And it was actually trying to create like this sense, it's like trying to create a sense based on the animal senses. And what happened in this glove is that at the fingertips, it has like these vibrators. So every time the glove found like an electromagnetic signal, the finger will alert you, like, okay, this is something that has electromagnetic radiation, you know. And it was based on this sense that the sharks has, that is called the ampullae of Lorenzini, and it's a huge organ in the front of the nose of the sharks that allows them to perceive like the biological electromagnetic signals in the sea, so they hunt with that sense. And this was one of like three or four pieces that we created for MoMA, and that we showcased there at MoMA. In this yeah, it was like an educational process. Here we are at MoMA's gallery, showing the pieces. Here we are like connecting everything.
With Arduino, you created that with
Yeah,
how?
this was with Arduino. Yeah, in 2015. These are the guys from A New Cross. There was also David Velez was also, which is a great sound artist.
Did
Was
you make
also
that picture bigger?
yes.
No.
And oh no, it cannot be bigger. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
And then Santiago Cortés, which is like my brother, was also a part of this. He's an engineer and he did everything with us. This is a great memory. Yeah, and of course it has to do with what we are doing right now. Of course.
Yeah, and the outfits are very beautifully designed. They are by
Oh yeah.
Uroboros, which is this fashion tech in Colombia.
Yeah, of course. They are.
And so the and also the code. I remember the code had some sensors.
Yeah, it has actually it was sewn with fiber optics, and it has some sensors that they could perceive heat. So when you came closer to something that had heat, like a body or something, they shined all the fiber optics, because as you can see here, it's all sewn with fiber optics. And of course, this is not so like technologically 3D looking as some like prosthetics that you can see nowadays, but this was beautiful because this was done with actual artisans here of Colombia, who help us building like this with very special tissues and very special fabrics that they do here in Colombia. And actually the the glove create also visualization of the electromagnetic fields, which are images like this. So you can actually perceive with video like the electromagnetic signals.
Where
So
were the electromagnetic fields?
what?
Where were they? The magnetic fields like these ones, where were they captured? They
Oh,
were captured by the gloves and the dress?
yeah, they were captured by the glove mainly.
Yeah,
And then in Hyphen, actually, this is part of a Hyphen Hub performance that we did
yeah.
that year, showcasing the glove. Remember? And this was part of that showcase. This is an image that we created in that showcase. Yeah, in Visions of the Future 2, I guess, or 1. Visions of the Future 1. Yeah.
So, okay, great. So, okay, so we have any last thing that you want to tell us before we close?
No, Asher, I just wanted to thank you for the invitation. It's a very deeply like emotional project for us, this River project, and we are just so happy to be able to share it and to launch it here. And this is like our first international view on that project, and we are just so happy to share it with you. And I just want you to remember that on Sunday we'll have like the talk with the huge whole attractor team. So I think that's gonna be interesting.
Yes, please don't miss, if you enjoy this, don't miss Sunday's talk, which I believe is what time? Is it 4 p.m.?
I guess so. I guess so.
You search for a tractor on a or under the Hyphen Hub list of programs for a tractor studio. And we are going to talk about a very exciting piece that it was presented that won the award at CERN, the particle physics place in Switzerland. And they're going to talk how they build a very complex machine.
Mhm.
And then to study, to talk in a different way with the scientists coming from a very interesting angle. It's about also like ancient technologies that were coming from the indigenous, from the Amazons, how actually many of the things they believe are very parallel to the things that we believe in the West now, and we just call it different ways. But it's anyway, but that is a very interesting project. Okay, thank you very much everybody for attending. If you want to reach Juan, you find his info in the bio of the Maker Faire, or also hub.com. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Asher. Goodbye.
Bye.